This video explores filters in the HTML5 interface. There are a ton of filters in the product. They are extremely important in terms of getting you quickly to the data you need to be in. But there are a lot of them, so it's important you understand them and some of the key concepts around them. Now, again, we have specific videos on a lot of these, but this video is designed really just to be an overview of the different types of filters and maybe some of the key idiosyncrasies about them, so you have some basic understanding. We're going to go over the following filters: sidebar filters, the filter widget, date filter, database lock filter, widget filters, or filters in widgets is what it really should say, and bookmark filters. So let's get into the product and do that. So I am logged into a case here, and let's start with the sidebar filters. So to do that, let's open a grid. Actually, let's not do that. Let's start with just a general comment. Anytime you apply a filter, and we'll do it here with a sidebar filter. So now we're going to filter on just web data. A filter icon will show up here. Depending on the type of filter you applied will affect the look of the icon and what it says in its tooltip. And you can have as many of something like 5 icons up here. Generally, you'll only have 1 at any given time, but you can have 5 all at once. And you can always remove the filter by just clicking on the icon. So if I click here, you can see here we have 152 records that are reactive. If I click here, it's going to go back to the full data set of 300,000 some odd items. So that is frankly, regarding filters, that is the single most important concept to understand. Know that when you apply a filter, it shows up there. Okay, so now let's go through the different types of filters. These, again, are sidebar filters. They are just quickly exposed versions of grid filters, which I will show you shortly. But let me just do this. I'm going to click again on the web widget, web icon, excuse me, and we see that icon appear here. But we also see grid now showing us that one filter is applied. And specifically, it's the internet URL visit times is not null, meaning the internet URL has been visited at least one time. I showed you I could remove that filter by clicking here. I can also remove it by clicking here. Now it's going to go away. Notice that this is a database filter, meaning every time I apply this filter, I'm going to get a whole bunch of messages up here saying I'm getting the data, now I'm building the grid, I'm building the widgets, I'm building the different functionality in the product. Okay, so I applied that widget again, and I'm going to go ahead and just remove that widget again. I can accomplish a similar thing here, and I'm going to go ahead and do, let's search on object name. I think frog is actually reactive here. Let's see if frog, yeah, we've got 4 frogs. Okay, so I applied that there, that filter. The same icon came up as when I worked here. And again, I have a filter here that says object name contains frog. Simple. I can go ahead and remove that if I want to. And again, I'm back to normal. I can also, let's apply that again. Okay, now if I wanted to, I'm going to apply the database lock, which again has its own video. So I won't explain it, but needless to say, what it does is it means I'm going to play only now with local data. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to apply the filter mouth. You can see a new icon appeared. This is a local filter. In addition, that is indicated by this being turned yellow. The local filter is applied in this column. You can click on that and see the filter. You can clear it by clearing it here, by clicking clear, or I could have gone to that icon and simply removed it there. So that is the second type of filter. We've explored a grid filter. Now we've explored a local filter. Both have their own icons. Let's remove this. Oh, excuse me, I have the database lock on. I was wondering what was going on there. Refresh that. When you have the database lock on, you can't remove a database filter. But again, that's got its own video. I apologize for that. But let's now look at a new type of filter. We're going to open the filter widget. These have their own icon. These are called facets. I don't know why they're called facets, but they have been for a long time. I want to double click on this. It's as simple as doing that. And now I have a new icon here, different than the other icons. And if I hover over it, it says facet filter applied. And I can clear that by clicking here as I did previously, or by clicking here, or I could just keep clicking here and ultimately remove it. So let's go ahead and remove that one and restore myself back to 0. So now we've looked at 3 types of filters. We've got the grid filter, the local filter, and the facet filter. These up here are called our tabs. They are the same thing as applying a facet filter. If I click email here, I've got the same icon as I did before, and whether we explicitly clicked it or not, a facet got selected, the email facet. You can see it popped up here. So when we applied that, it triggered this facet. So let's go ahead and remove that. We could do the same thing by entering a date. Those are also filter facets. But let's move on now to bookmarks. Okay, a real common workflow / issue is the person has created a bunch of bookmark items and now wants to filter just to what was bookmarked. You can do that by double clicking on the icon right next to the bookmark you want to filter on. And now again, see this? New filter again, it's a bookmark filter. So we can go ahead and remove that if we want, and that will remove it. The last thing that I really want to explore is widget filters. So almost every widget has a filter inherent in it. So let's do the thumbnail widget. This is kind of one of the easiest ones to digest. And let's get to pictures. See if we've got some pictures in here. Okay, cool. This picture just disturbs me. But if we interact with any of the widgets, it will in turn filter the grid. These are local filters, but watch, I'm shifting and I hit select. And I've now applied a local filter. And you can see that appears up here. We also have, again, we applied a facet filter, so we have both local and a facet filter applied. And we can remove that if we want. And we can click here, and we can shift down to here, and we can control click here. And then you can see as we do that, it keeps selecting new, filtering to the documents that we care about. So that's the last filter I wanted to discuss. So, and every widget has that type of functionality. If I went to timeline, I could show you if I interact with the timeline, it interacts with the grid in turn. When we interact with a widget, you need to note that the database lock turns itself on. It knows that you are dealing with local data when you're interacting with a widget. And in order to optimize the speed, it turns on the database lock and just deals with local data, and that way your user experience would be really fast. But you can always turn it off if you want. Let's go ahead and clear and reset back to 0, and we're all back to where we started. So those are the key concepts I wanted you to know and the key filters I wanted you to see. Thank you very much, and hopefully that was helpful.